All right, y'all. So let's move on. Let's talk about Miss Gal Gadot, who basically had recently got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Unfortunately, or for some, fortunately, her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame was interrupted by pro-Israel and pro-Palestine protesters, where the police had to step in. So shout out to Variety for this story. It says several dozen protesters showed up just before the ceremony was due to get underway, with the pro-Palestinian protesters holding signs that read "Heroes fight like Palestinians, Viva la Palestina," and "No other land won Oscar." Actually, it did. How y'all gonna go up there and hold that no other land won the Oscar? That is funny though. Now, as with the Snow White premiere earlier this week, the area on Hollywood Boulevard was tinted off and fully not visible from the street because a lot of people were scared, and that's why a lot of people stepped back because. And funny thing, I was thinking that, and I didn't even think about it. When I was thinking about the whole Snow White situation, I was thinking it was because of what Rachel Ziegler said, but I feel like what she's getting is from the people on social media. I think most people are going after Gal Gadot because remember she fought in the Israeli army, which is mandatory from what I'm hearing, and that's why a lot of people was like, "Well, we used to like Gal Gadot. What happened? Like all of a sudden everybody hates her." And I said because people saying she's a Zionist. And she was like, I had to speak up for what's happening in Israel and stuff. And yeah, nobody's saying that we're all for what happened to on what was it, October 6th, October 7th, whatever. Um, but comparing that to what the people in Israel and Netanyahu's doing to the Palestinians, um, that's Disney compared to what you do, what your people are doing to Palestinians to try to steal their land and hijack the West Bank with the help of our current administration. The fact that Miriam Adelson gave Donald Trump hundreds of millions of dollars so that way they can do whatever they want to do to Gaza and the West Bank. So if we're gonna talk about it, let's talk about it. So now that so I've totally forgot because I was thinking it was more or less because of Rachel Ziegler, but I was like, yeah, Gal Gadot's in the movie too. So it's probably that people they didn't want to they wanted to limit the premiere, and I thought it was probably because the movie sucked too, which I'm hearing mixed reviews on. But no, it's mostly I think it's because of Gal Gadot and a lot of her being from Israel and her political stance on certain things. So the crowd shouted, "Up with the liberation, down, down with occupation, and not another nickel, not another dime, no more money for Israel's crime." One thing I will say, y'all definitely know how to throw together a cheer. Now, Roma Alekos, who stood across the street from the tented area, told Variety the following. I was like, let's go to this picture so that way y'all can see some more stuff. This is what they told Variety. They said, "We're all really upset about what's happening in Gaza right now. For the last year and a half, and especially in the last 24 to 48 hours, 400 innocent people have been killed by the Israeli army unprovoked." And during Ramadan, I should point out. He went on to say, "There's no reason we should be celebrating an Israeli," referring to Gadot. He expressed his disappointment in the actress for not using her platform and for keeping her head in the sand. She has the ability to learn and read the same books that we read. There's just no excuse. The crowd grew over 2 dozen on each side. Now, content creator Dana Nikri was holding an Israeli flag. Speaking with Variety, Nikri recalled how her friends had gone to the Nova Music Festival on October 7th, 2023, saying that they were murdered, saying that they come to our home and take us from our home and give us dead children, she said, adding, "We don't start war. We don't want war at all." Really? Y'all don't start a war? And I really feel like this whole situation was an excuse on Netanyahu's part to go in and just do 10 times worse to the Gazans. And I truly believe that Hamas wants peace in a lot of situations. I feel like also when you push people far enough, and I'm not excusing the behavior, but I understand why they did what they did. Same thing when I said with Luigi Mangione and his alleged killing of the United Health CEO guy, is that when your back is against the wall and you're constantly seeing people being taken advantage of, kids walking around with limbs missing, or that they have no anesthesia and you're preventing food from getting into these countries, when you're cutting their power, when they don't have clean water, when I'm seeing video footage of a man holding his son as his head is hanging, a piece of the head is hanging off because he's dead and it's hollow inside and there's no organs inside of his head. When you're seeing these things and you're trying to compare that little situation that happened and y'all have no empathy, that's the thing that angers me. And the fact that if you say these things, that you have a current administration that wants to have you rounded up by ICE and deported. Even people who were born in this country without due process. So the ceremony finally got underway, starting 15 minutes late. The protester could still be heard chanting throughout. And police responded after pro-Palestinian protesters stole an Israeli flag. Well, I was going to say, you know what? At the end of the day, let's not get physical. I feel like we should have the right to protest, which is our right as Americans. The First Amendment. But regardless of how angry you feel at how our country is handling this situation and basically just rolling out the red carpet for people like Netanyahu, but you treating Zelensky like a piece of shit, regardless of what your political beliefs are, let them chant what they chant, let you chant what you chant, but we shouldn't have to take it to being physical. We can protest with our mouths, and we can protest with our hearts and our energy and all that other stuff. We don't need to protest by snatching people's flags, smacking people upside the head, throwing a brick at them. Throw the brick at the building. Don't throw the brick at the person. I'm thinking Stonewall. So Gadot, who was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in the ceremony emceed by Steve Nissen, with Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins. Isn't Steve Nissen her husband or whatever? Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins, Fast and the Furious star Vin Diesel, and Shira Haas also making appearances to Lord Gadot, saying, "I'm just a girl from a town in Israel. This star will remind me that with hard work and passion and some faith and the lack of acting lessons, anything is possible," Gadot said as she stepped up to the podium. She thanked Diesel and Jenkins. She told Diesel, "You took a chance on a complete unknown and invited me to the Fast and the Furious family, talking about starting big. It was my first movie ever, and your faith in me completely changed the course of my life." She thanked him for trusting in her and added, "We're always family." Well, yeah, to the point where her ass supposed to be dead and they had her pop up in the last damn movie with no freaking explanation. So Gadot told Jenkins that she was her Wonder Woman behind the camera, going through this journey together. "You've been a beacon of light and have always guided me with love and compassion. Working with you taught me to trust myself and my powers as an actress. It was only after our movie that I finally started to call myself an actress." Yeah, because she had to try to make sure that you could hit all them beats. Because I will say this, she still ain't a good actress. I would like for her to get to a place of like Dave Bautista, where it's like he didn't start out great in the beginning, neither did Channing Tatum's, but they worked hard at what they got and they became phenomenal at what they do. Now you look at people like Channing Tatum, now you look at people like Dave Bautista, and they're well respected within the acting place because they push themselves to want to learn. She still lacks that personality. She's pretty to look at. But outside of that, ain't much there. She also, they said that Gadot, who is Israeli, has been an outspoken supporter of Israel on social media as well as in a passionate speech she delivered on March 4th, but she was honored at the Anti-Defamation League's annual summit in New York City, saying, "Never did I imagine that on the streets of the United States and different cities around the world, we would see people not condemning Hamas, but celebrating, justifying, and cheering on a massacre of Jews." And I feel like this is the part that pisses me off about people like her, because nobody is sitting out here saying that, yeah, we want to see Jewish people die. Nobody's saying that. I don't want to see Jewish people die, but I don't want to see innocent, excuse me, innocent Palestinian women and children and men being killed either. And these are not Hamas. These are just regular people. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians are killed, have been killed since October. Where's the outrage for that? But you're talking about a couple hundred people, and I don't want to sit here and try to measure with numbers, but from what Israel is doing compared to what Hamas did is basically, what is the word? This is like it's peanuts compared. So for you to not to condemn both sides and say, yeah, I condemn Hamas, but I don't agree with what Netanyahu is doing. I don't agree with the fact that the army is going in and they're killing women and they're raping and killing women and they're going in and they're just playing target practice with Palestinian kids, meaning that y'all are from a distance just shooting little kids in the head for sport. These are things I've seen. These are things the mainstream media don't want to talk about. And it'd be nice if she would have addressed that, but I get it because you are part of that world, because you partook in the Israeli army. You're going to defend your people. And that's why the people out here are protesting against you because you are a problem. And trust and believe, Vin, I know you decided to resurrect her from the dead in Fast 10. You put her in this damn movie. If she comes back and forth as Fast 11, expect to see this exact type of protesting going on outside your movie. Because it feels like from now on, any little thing that Gal appears in, and you know Hollywood's going to protect her, anything that she appears in is going to be a bunch of people outside protesting against her because of what she's been saying in her speeches. But she said that while she previously stayed away from politics, she felt compelled to speak up following Hamas's terror attack on October 7th. When people were abducted from their homes, from their beds, men, women, children, elderly Holocaust survivors were going through the horrors of what happened that day, I could not be silent. I was shocked by the amount of hate, by the amount of how much people think they know when they actually have no idea, and also by how the media is not fair many times. Well, it seems like the media has been more or less fairly on your side than the opposite side. So I don't know what the hell she listening to. And this is why people call her a Zionist, because those are Zionistic speaking points or bullet points. And then also went on to say, when your compass is clear, your conscience is clean. I know what I'm advocating for, and I know what I wish for the world. Well, you advocate what you advocate for, and continue to see people going up against you. But she's not the only one they've been going after, because they went after Captain America Brave New World. There was protests outside of there because they included Israeli superhero Ruth Bat Seraph, aka Sabra, played by Israeli actress does it even say her actual first name? They just said Haas. But I believe there's another name in there. I don't think they realized that they didn't put her name in there. But anyway, they said protesters held signs that read Saber has got to go. Disney supports genocide, boycott Captain America, and pray for Princess Jasmine. They chanted phrases such as free, free, free Palestine and Disney, Disney, you can't hide. So people out here protesting. We'll see how long that lasts, especially in this current administration who's trying to roll back our rights by the day. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story in regards of Gal Gadot and everybody out there protesting? You had the Israelis on one side, you had the Palestinians on the other side, and Gal Gadot was in the middle trying to get her star in Hollywood. I just don't even get, sidebar, how the hell she getting a star? You ain't did nothing but Wonder Woman. That was actually worth watching. All the other, and yeah, she did appear a couple of times in the Fast and the Furious movies, but Wonder Woman was the only movie that you led that was actually good. Everything else you was in was bad. That Netflix movie was terrible that you was in. I'm hearing you not that great as the Queen in Snow White. And you getting a star, but I forgot. You can actually buy a celebrity a star. So I wonder who got it for. It might be her husband who's a producer in Hollywood. So I say all this to say, whatever your thoughts are on this, let me know in the comments down below.